2, 1, 0, ignition.
Ignition is right. You are tuned to universalexports.co, and even Rebecca's going to back that up.
You are now tuned.
Yes, we are. We're tuned to universalexports.co, the place where you learn to learn more about learning, and you'll be more learned once you've learned. In today's podcast, we're going to talk a little bit about Castlemaine, the township thereof. We're also going to talk about high-definition vinyl. It almost sounds like a contradiction in terms. There'll be a little bit of space talk as well, where we're going to talk about the problems of breathing in moon dust. And I don't know how you do that without taking your helmet off. For the really interested people, we're going to talk about steam trains. Yes, I know, but someone's called in and said, we want to hear more about steam trains, so we'll give you steam trains. At the very end, we might try and put you all to sleep by listening to BBC Radio 4's shipping forecast and talk a little bit about that. And I know some people that will recognise the sound of that. No, I'm not one of those funny people that spots steam trains or whatever those things are, but I can tell you a little bit about it. That steam engine that you just heard was a J-Class 2-8-0. A little bit of information about J-Class 2-8-0. Post-Second World War revitalisation of the Victorian railways included an updated design of the K-Class. The Vulcan Foundry in England built 60 J-Class locomotives, these units entering service in 1954. Incorporating many of the basic specifications of the Ks, these locomotives were constructed for easy conversion to standard gauge. We've got all sorts of gauges in this country, but in Victoria, that was some sort of big deal. Like the K, these units were available for the entire Victorian railway system. They could be turned on 53-foot turntables, and I saw that whilst we were up at Castlemaine, actually, and were permitted a maximum of 50 miles per hour. 30 units of this class were coal burning, and 30 units were oil burning. The J-Class proved to be the last class of steam locomotive to enter service in the Victorian railways. Now, don't tell me you can't use that information at the next barbecue you're at. Speaking of the railways, we were in Castlemaine recently, and what a beautiful little town it is, and we had a meal. In fact, we were so impressed by the first meal we had, we went back the next day and had another meal there at the Railway Hotel. The Railway Hotel, as you can probably appreciate, is very close to the railway station at Castlemaine. It's on the other side, and is located within the Goldfields area of central Victoria and dates back to the mid-1880s. This hotel has a real vintage feel of the bygone era, incorporating a locals bar, bistro and bar, outside veranda area, and even features a private beer garden complete with free entertainment on Sunday afternoons in summer, and it's also available for private parties and functions, and they can seat 60 guests, or if you stand up for a more casual party, they will be able to put 100 of you all in that place, and it would be cosy if it was. They say their steaks are aged in-house and source their produce from local gamekeepers, organic growers, local potato farmers, cheesemakers, olive groves, and they even catch their own trout. Their dining options cater for everybody, from those that desire a hearty pub meal to those that are looking for something a little special and adventurous. And I certainly endorse that, and it proved to be exactly all of those things. It was just quite wonderful.
Space Talk, Space Talk, Space Talk.
Frequently discussed about astronauts returning to the moon and establishing a permanent lunar base there. But scientists at Stony Brook University say that prolonged exposure to lunar dust could make staying there risky business. In tests, exposure to dust particles of simulated lunar soil resulted in up to 90% of human lung cells and mouse neurons being killed, with the potential for increased cancer risk also. Unlike the soil on Earth, lunar soil is the product of millions of years of micrometeorite impacts, extreme temperature variations, and constant cosmic ray bombardments occurring in a waterless vacuum. And of course, without the effects of oxygen, water and biological activity to moderate them, the dust particles on the moon become tiny, abrasive, chemically reactive, and carry a high static charge. The result is a very unpleasant blackish grey powder that clung fiercely to the astronauts' suits, wore at the joints that sealed their helmets, gloves and other fittings, and produced hay fever symptoms that persisted even after returning to the orbiting command module. Still reckon they should have left their helmets on. Wouldn't have had so much of a problem. A team led by Rachel Caston, a geneticist at Stony Brook University School of Medicine, on simulated lunar soil, indicates that while the watery eyes and runny noses of the Apollo crews were only temporary, those working for months at a time at a manned lunar outpost could face more serious disorders such as cancer. According to Caston, the effects of the lunar dust is similar to silicosis, a condition found in coal miners or those who breathe in toxic dust from dust storms or volcanic eruptions. The tiny silica particles settle on the alveoli of the lungs, where they can cause gross damage or even affect the DNA of cells, resulting in cancer. Using recreated lunar soils designed to simulate those found on the lunar highlands, Caston's team exposed growing human lung cells and mouse brain cells to variants of the dust under controlled conditions. They found that when the dust was ground fine enough, it killed up to 90% of all cells. It also significantly damaged the DNA of the mouse neurons, but killed the human cells so effectively that it wasn't possible to measure the DNA changes. Exactly how the dust causes so much damage is still unclear, but the team believes that it may have to do with causing an inflammatory response inside the cells or by triggering the production of free radicals, which can strip electrons from certain molecules and negatively impact their functionality. But whatever the mechanism, the study indicates that lunar dust may be more than just a house cleaning problem. Like I said, keep your helmet on. High definition vinyl records. Can you believe it? Well, you'd better start believing it. An Australian company called Rebeat is looking to fundamentally change the way vinyl records are mastered, promising to bring what it calls HD vinyl to stores sometime in 2019. With the triumphant resurgence of vinyl in recent years as other forms of physical media sales have dwindled, this attempt at high-definition vinyl is claimed to result in longer playing time, more amplitude than current records, and better sound quality. Sale trends over recent years have been incredibly clear. People are buying less physical media and streaming more. CDs still account for a large volume of music sales, but they are undoubtedly on the downturn. Vinyl sales, on the other hand, have been slowly growing year by year until, in 2017, Sony Japan went so far as announcing it will be opening its first vinyl plant in 30 years. High-definition vinyls will also be backwards compatible and able to be played on any existing turntable, but the company also says it will look into producing its own special turntables designed to best engage with new high-definition records in the future. And that's HD vinyl. That's pretty exciting, I think. Now, have a listen to this.
Morning to now the shipping forecast issued by the Met Office on behalf of the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency at 05:05 on Thursday the 15th of March. There are warnings of gales in Viking, North at Zera, South at Zera, Forties, Cromarty, Forth, Tyne, Dogger, Fisher, German Bight, Humber, Biscay, Trafalgar, Fitzroy, Sol, Irish Sea, Shannon, Rockall, Malin, Hebrides, Bailey, Faroe, Faroes and South East Iceland. The general synopsis at midnight. Low 50
You're
miles
listening
west of Rockall,
to the shipping forecast, which is produced on BBC Radio, and it's broadcast of weather reports and forecasts for the seas around the coast of the British Isles. It's produced by the Met Office and broadcast by BBC Radio 4 on behalf of the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency. The forecast sent over the Navtex system used a similar format and the same sea areas. The waters around the British Isles are divided into 31 sea areas, 31 sea areas, also known as weather areas. There are 4 broadcasts per day on BBC Radio 4. In August 2017, Radio 4 celebrated the service's 150th anniversary. The shipping forecast is immensely popular with the British public. It daily attracts listeners in the hundreds of thousands, far more than actually required. In 1995, a plan to move the late-night broadcast by 12 minutes triggered angry newspaper editorials and debates in the UK Parliament, and it was ultimately scrapped. A similar outcry greeted the Met Office decision to rename Finister to Fitzroy, but in that case the decision was carried through Peter Jefferson, who read the forecast for 40 years until 2009, says that he received letters from listeners across the UK saying that the 0048 broadcast helped people get to sleep after a long day. The controller of BBC Radio 4, Mark Damazer, attempted to explain its popularity this way. It scans poetically. It's got a rhythm of its own. It's eccentric, it's unique, it's English. It's slightly mysterious because nobody really knows where these places are. It takes you into a faraway place that you can't really comprehend unless you're one of those people bobbing up and down in the channel. Zeb Soanes, a regular shipping forecaster reader, described it as thus. To the non-nautical, it is a nightly litany of the sea. It reinforces a sense of being islanders with a proud seafaring past. Whilst the listener is safely tucked up in their bed, they can imagine small fishing boats bobbing about at Plymouth or 170-foot waves crashing against Rockall. Another regular reader of the forecast, Kathy Clugston, described it as like a lullaby, almost. We don't want it to be a lullaby because we don't want it to send you to sleep. We want you to be enthused, excited, and full of all this information so that you can be the person everybody else wants to be because you have all this knowledge. I will just pull this up just a little bit more because it's just so exciting.
Now weather reports from coastal stations for 0400. Tyree Automatic, east-southeast 6, recent rain, 6 miles, 984, falling slowly. Stornoway, east-southeast 6, 7 miles, 989, falling slowly. Lerwick, southeast 7.
That was the ABC's news theme. I just thought I'd throw it in just to make it a little more exciting for you. But it's time for us to go here at universalexports.co. Don't forget to tune in again next time we put up a podcast. Lovely to have you along. Look forward to catching up with you next time. universalexports.co, and in fact, universalexports.co. Signing off.